Hello and welcome to this edition of the Talk Franchise podcast, Home Instead's podcast aiming to give you an insight into the world of franchising. My name is Luke Spellman, Franchise Development Manager here at Home Instead, and today I'm joined by Trish John from our Learning and Development team. We'll be discussing the importance of learning and development, how it can help you grow a successful care business, and ultimately how it can help you deliver the highest quality of care you can. Enjoy. Trish, welcome. Thank you very, very much for joining me today. I'm really excited for this one. Actually, I feel like it's the final missing piece of the Talk franchise jigsaw. So, I guess before we get in, could you introduce yourself and what you do at Home Instead, please?
Absolutely, Luke. Thank you for inviting me. Actually, because as I said to you, it's one of my firsts, so this is really good. I'm really excited about this. So my job title at Home Instead at National Office is Learning and Development Partner. So within that, I support the network with anything to do with learning, development and training. So it's a wide and varied, fabulous job. Love it.
Good. Well, it's great to be with you. And we've worked together for, 7 or 8 years at this point. So it's nice to be able to do this.
Yeah.
So you kind of touched on it there, but could you kind of explain what the function of learning and development is? You mentioned the terms there, learning, development and training, but could we kind of unpack that for people who maybe haven't come across this before or think it's one thing and actually it's another?
Mm-hmm. So when we talk about training is something that people need to do in order to be proficient within their job role. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we try to do at Home Instead is to professionalise the role of care. So people that work in health and social care are often sort of like deemed as not really very capable, not really wanting to do things, so that a nurse is a nurse and she's gone through a vocation and she's gone through lots of qualifications. Yeah. But actually working in care it's all about how you understand a person and how you can help them to be in their own home for as long as possible. Yeah. And that's what we do at Home Instead. So we build relationships. So we allow our care professionals to understand our clients so that they can be person-centred in the way that they actually provide that care and help the person be the very best that they can be. So we promote independence, don't create dependence. And that's where we're at with everything when we're actually training our care professionals. So obviously, I'm not going to go out and train every single care pro because that would be impossible. So what we do in learning and development is develop the programs that will help our care professionals be the very best that they can be. And that's where we're at. So a learning and development partner, which is both me and Tim Howell, will develop and bring together the right qualifications for our care professionals, whether that be just understanding Betty, who is a client, and that's our pseudonym for all of our clients. So they would understand what happens in Betty's life and how a care pro can help Betty be independent within her own home for as long as she wants to be, or whether it's Betty's now become so reliant on care that, she may have dementia, she may have Parkinson's, she may have need of a catheter or, anything like that. Her mobility won't be as good, so she needs equipment. She might need a stoma or a PEG, which is you're going to ask me what it is now, isn't it? So it's a PEG. So it's a percutaneous endogastropic device which feeds somebody through the stomach. Okay. So we have a whole range. We might just sit with Betty and help us sew up her blankets, just make her some tea or coffee, or we might sit and look at pictures, so there's a whole remit of something that a care professional will actually do. And that's all about making sure that they understand the needs of the clients and are able to support them in the best way possible.
That really does not sound like an unskilled role to me. It sounds like a really complex role.
It is.
So it's a shame that actually in the care sector generally, there is this kind of view that people are unskilled because they do care, and actually that long list of potential care needs that someone has. I mean, you've got to be well equipped if you're going to go and care for someone, particularly to the standard that we need care to be delivered at.
Absolutely.
So as and we'll dive into this as we go through, but I suppose, is there just one type of training and then that teaches you it all, or actually does the training kind of grow with the care professional and kind of the office as they begin to expand their services? How do you guys approach such a vast range of care needs?
Well, that's a great point, that, Luke, because actually we have to link it to our regulators as well.
Okay.
And of course, we don't just work in England. We work across Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and England. So there are regulations in terms of training that a care pro needs to go through as well. So there's like in Northern Ireland, it's linked to the NISCC, in Scotland and in Wales into the Care Inspectorate in both countries, and it's to CQC in England. So, when a regulator comes out, they actually want to understand what our care professionals have done. So what we do is we start them off with the very basics that they actually need and then grow them within the office and within their job role to all the other areas that they actually need.
I see,
as well. So it is an actual journey, and we don't just sit there. We have face-to-face training, and so say you was a trainer in the office. So you need to understand how to train moving and handling, for example.
Yes.
Yeah, because there's equipment involved in Betty's house. So you would need to do a trainer qualification so that you can then train the care professionals, because that's the need that is there at the moment. So
I see, yeah.
So we have partnerships, we have preferred providers. We obviously can't do all of that training, so we make sure that our providers, our preferred providers, actually understand how Home Instead want it to be done.
Yeah, okay.
And the quality is there, how it links to our policies, how it links to our care plans, how it links to the growth and the journey of our care professionals as well. So that's what we do. So we make sure that whoever is going to train anybody in the network is actually at a proper level as well. So, so like, for example, the dementia. So dementia is very high on our priority. We have a lot of clients living with dementia. So, we've got our dementia truths and home truths that are out at the moment, which is a great opportunity for our care professionals to understand what it's like to live with dementia and how somebody can be supported. So there's that area. But so what we do in the L&D department is we make sure that whatever training is out there, however it is delivered, is absolutely the best that it can be. So all of our training is CPD certified. We've won Princess Royal Training Awards for our training, which is excellent, so our offices can use that information in order to be able to help them grow their business, so we'll have a training for the care pros, and we'll have training for owners or networkers, so that they can also spread the message that we're actually giving as well. And that's all linked into marketing campaigns as well. So it's all a nice round circle, if you like, so when it's...
So someone who's thinking maybe about buying a franchise will, I suppose, have the reassurance that this doesn't all land with them to navigate compliance and regulatory standards. Actually, they're joining a brand that does a lot of the thinking, whether it's you guys specifically in that team or the preferred providers that you explained that kind of go through a vetting process. That information is then trickled down to their offices, whether it be key members of staff or like you say, the trainer in that office, who then has the responsibility for the care professionals they bring on.
Absolutely.
So there is a full kind of infrastructure here to ensure that no one ever goes out and delivers care without having that proper training.
Absolutely.
Is it also about their own confidence as well? Because if I put myself in the shoes of a care professional who's maybe never ever done this before, you have a yearning to help people, and you know that you would be good at it, but you've never done it. So what does it all look like? One thing that would be really important to me is understanding that I'm not going to be put in a client's home without properly understanding the care needs that they have, maybe the particular kind of conditions or difficulties that they're living with. So it sounds like actually the full scope of the program means that not only are people delivering it correctly, but they themselves feel confident doing it.
Exactly. So that's where our franchise standards link in as well. So within our care planning process, because when you're working in L&D, you're working across all of, we're not just a silo, we're listening to what's happening in all of the different departments as well.
Yes.
So we link in with quality very highly, and they may say, right, we need to make sure that this is trained out properly. So what can we do to do that? So we'll then take that away. We'll design a program that is a blended learning approach. We'll write the e-learning so that it can actually be industry standard. We'll make sure that it meets all of the requirements. We'll work with subject matter experts. We've got partners out there, such as like the End of Life Partnership, Dementia UK, etc., Parkinson's. So all of those people come to us and ask us to help them to deliver training in a different way so that our care pros are never out there without the knowledge that they actually need. What we have to remember is, one of our biggest unique selling points at Home Instead is our visits. We have time to care, and they have time to build relationships, and that's really important. Along with, the fact that actually a care professional is never just put into a house. They're always introduced, and they're always given the time for the care planning. We have supervisions and appraisals and support visits, which all link back to our learning and development, because actually if you're not showing competence, then actually you need to be retrained. So we've got a learner management system as well that is part of our learning and development what's the word? Can't think of the word. Offering, if you like, learning and development offering, which actually records what training people have got, whether they're okay. So, and our systems say to us, right, this person needs this skill. Our learner management system says they've got it, so they can go. And that's how it works. So it's all interlinked. So
you can actually identify gaps in knowledge. And is that you in the L&D team that does that, or is it the franchisees that oversee that? How does that work?
So it all works through the learner management system, basically, and into their rostering system as well. So it links together so that they can say, if it's been identified in the care plan that somebody needs to understand this skill, then on the learner management system, they're given that skill, and it tells the scheduling system they've got the skill, they're good to go. They can be scheduled into that call.
So the franchisee identifies maybe the gaps and actually knows that the person within that business responsible for delivering care needs upskilling in a certain area or maybe shouldn't yet be going out to a client's home, for example.
Yeah. Okay. And we actually have as well on top of that, Luke. So we have so the way that we've developed our journeys for our care pros is they can't go out to a client until they've done a certain amount of learning.
Okay.
So they come in, they understand all about our clients. They've done their e-learning. They've had the opportunity to do scenario-based learning, and then they're guided out in the field as well.
I see.
So, and then we got supervisions, which are very strictly done. So if it's supervision, like you might be in a supervision and you might say, oh, Betty's got pressure sore on her leg and the district nurse came out the other day. I really don't understand that. What does that mean?
Yeah.
So then in supervision would instantly give them the learning so that they understood the pressure area care and what that might mean for the client. So
I see. Okay. Well, there's a full kind of infrastructure and setup then to ensure that we're, I guess, delivering the highest quality of care and changing lives in the right way. So I suppose one question I've got then is how does the approach at home instead differ to what one would expect from traditional care?
So my past history, working in care is, that you've got a presentation or you've got somebody understands something about it. So, we'll give you that bit of training, and that's it. But that bit of training might not be anything to do with the way that we recruit on values, and that's really important. We're a mission-driven organisation, and each office has their own mission and values, and it's usually all around making sure that everything is as personal and person-centred for the client as possible. But when you've got that type of approach, it means that, we develop our learning ourselves. So we've not gone out and just picked it up off the shelf.
Yeah, okay.
Even our learner management system, they are linked to our industry, which is Skills for Care. So they're linked to Skills for Care, and they're CPD certified.
Okay.
They're an e-learning specialist that only work with care. So that was really important to us, for us to make sure that we know that the information that is given is around care and care in the home as well.
I see, yeah.
So, that's one of the reasons why we've expanded our e-learning facilities, so that we can actually make sure that people understand what it is in Betty's house.
Yeah, okay. And so is there generally a culture of, not at home instead, within the kind of the care sector generally, is there an approach to just get the training done? Let's get it out the way. There's almost we're meeting minimum requirements. Would you say that home instead goes far beyond those requirements? Or, do we have to go beyond in the way that other care companies companies do?
Yeah, I think because it links to the franchise standards. They're very strong. Our franchise standards, they allow us to be. I always remember when I started, Martin said to me, "Trish, I don't want my offices to be good, because good is good. They need to be outstanding."
Yeah.
And that's where we've always taken that step. We've always made sure that whatever we provide, so we have a journey, we have an approach to professionalising the role of care, like I said before, and that includes not only what do they do right from the start, but where do they go? What's that journey? What does it look like? Where are they going? We really want a care professional to start today and tomorrow buy a franchise, because they understand the actual journey. They understand our mission, our vision for, expanding the world's capacity to care, what's a better next sort of thing, that kind of thing. So for me, we have an apprenticeship academy, which is a whole different approach to what anybody else has done in the sector. We're the first ones to do that. And that means that anybody that starts off, they start the training and it's classed as underpinning knowledge. Then they move on to a level 2 qualification, which we've mapped to our training with our provider. That, and that's a whole different approach. We've got a levy transfer. So far, we've had, £400,000 and a levy transfer, which means that lots of people can go through qualifications free of charge.
Yeah.
So there's no cost to the offices as well, because that's really important, especially if it's a brand new office, because you've got to roll in to it really to be able to do it. So
definitely.
We try to think of the wider picture in terms of that. And the apprenticeship academy is doing really well. So level 2s, level 3s, level 5s, level 7s. So there's industry standards. So if you're a brand new care manager, So you're a brand new franchise and you've got a care manager.
Yep.
If they've not already got a qualification at level 5, then that's got to be sourced.
Yes.
And a level 5 qualification is like £15,000.
Wow.
Yeah. Or, you know, there are other ways to get funding, but, you know, we've funded those offices and those people that actually need that qualification to do the job and to grow in their job as well.
So everything you've said it's all incredible, but it sounds like every care company should be doing that. Why do you think that some care companies can't do that?
I think care historically is almost kind of like a rabbit run. You run, and you try to do the best that you can.
Yeah, okay.
You know, and I just think that's just part of it. And I think if you've not got that structure of that support that National Office provide to franchises, then actually you can just run away and not realise what you're doing. You know, you're a brand new company, a call comes in, will you take this qualification? Oh yeah, I'll do that. But then it doesn't actually give them what they actually need. So we feel really strongly that by having that baseline learning, you know, so that they can actually do exactly what it is that they need to do in order to be able to go out and care for somebody, you know, then and develop as well at the same time. I think that's really important.
And I suppose sort of the if a particular care company focuses on local authority contracts, then, you know, you're going to end up with, ultimately they're paid a lot lower than what our hours of care are. And I suppose there then becomes cost restrictions, doesn't there? That how can you invest so heavily in your training and the development of the staff and the constant top-ups of learning that happen along the way, because all of this costs money. You know, you highlighted the cost for someone to become a registered care manager with the level 5 MVQ. And so I guess by Home Instead focusing on the private market, it kind of allows us to do really what we ought to do to have the best care professionals out there delivering care. Yeah,
I would agree.
So why then generally is it, and I think this was dotted around all of your answers, but I'm going to ask a direct question then. Why is it important to have an L&D team, particularly in a franchise kind of setup, when in theory you could go to external providers to get all of that learning and development and training for your staff? Why is it important to buy into a franchise brand that has this amazing kind of department and function in-house?
I think I alluded to it before. So out there in the market, health and social care is, so if I'm a training provider out there in the market and I see a brand new training company, I'm going to want to sell them as much as possible for as much money as possible. And actually, when you're a brand new franchise or an existing franchise, things change and they change quite frequently.
Yeah.
You know, and to actually get a qualification or training that meets the requirements of the business is really quite difficult to do.
Okay.
Because it can, so you alluded it before, if you've got a social services contract, you've got 15, 20 minutes, so you're task orientated.
You're getting in and getting out.
That's it. You just go and you're doing, you know, you're not doing it. But we're not that way. And because we're private pay, we give a full hour. And in that full hour, you know, there might be breakfast to make, there might be lunch to make, there might be a bed to do or washing to do. But actually being able to sit and talk and build a relationship with your clients, you have to have specific knowledge and understanding behind that. Yeah. So, you know, when we've got like somebody who's living with dementia or somebody living with Parkinson's or somebody living with whatever condition it is that they've got, you know, if you've got that ability to be able to understand and sit down with the person, that's it. So having a learning and development team means that you've actually got the ability to know what's going on in your market, know what's going on in your franchises, give them standardized and simplified ways of actually working so that they get the best out of the business and out of their care pros, whilst also helping them on their journey to improve and professionalize the role as well. Linking through to regulators. I mean, it's an absolute minefield out there. As I said to you, Scotland has a particular set of learning that is needed, and so does Northern Ireland, so does Wales, so does England, and they've all got different sectors, industry specialists. So if you've got somebody in L&D who's looking at all of that, and influencing as well, because the government have asked us to look at the care workforce pathway. They've asked us to review the care certificate and the qualifications that go behind that. We've got our so the fact that we actually specialise and understand what it is that Home Instead want, as well as what the industry do. You imagine you're a brand new franchise and you've got all these regulations, you've got all this stuff, and you just think, oh, I've no idea what to do here.
You're alone navigating
that. Exactly. So, you've got that support, you've got the support of the L&D department to help you understand what it is that your care pros need and when they need it. Because actually you could go in and you could give them everything, and actually that's really hard to do, but all of the training that we do is literally able to be delivered through, like, a brand new owner opening the doors tomorrow. It's got 10 care pros coming in because they want a job, 10 care professionals because they want a job. He's able to train them to be able to go out and support his clients right from day one with training that works.
So when you're joining a brand, you need to consider that the L&D function have got you as a franchisee and the office teams and the care professionals delivering that care in mind, that actually, in a way, you guys are navigating it, and then you're helping them to understand it.
Yeah.
So you actually have the reassurance and the direction, and if you know that the the franchise brand, or like Home Instead, wants to deliver the highest quality of care and make the biggest impact on clients possible, and truly deliver the best. In a way, it comes down to the L&D department and the way in which you disseminate that information.
Yeah, because internally as well, we're classed as, Tim and I always go, we're classed as subject matter experts, which is a bit frightening, really. But
you absolutely are.
But we've got a lot of years' experience between both of us, as well. And like I say, when we're part of strategy and part of government influencing, we work really hard on that. People do actually listen to us, because of our experiences. And because of our experiences with franchises as well, and although so lots of offices will know the L&D team.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
at some point everyone's going to come
across. At some point, everybody's going to come across us, and they come back to us on a regular basis, and we have, we have lots of different levels and different types of training. We have face-to-face, we have e-learning, we have, webinars, etc. We provide AMAs as well, so that people can come to us and ask us anything about any subject at all, So, I think it's important.
It's a great thing to have access to for someone coming into this, because we do have a lot of franchisees that have prior care experience in some form or another. And so maybe for them, they already understand what compliance is and how it looks and the kind of things you have to think about. But a larger chunk of our franchisees have never done this before. They might be proficient in running a business or managing projects or people, but actually the care bit, the compliance bit, and how you actually achieve high quality care, that bit's quite scary. And I think if I was coming into this knowing that I effectively had you guys to kind of tap into it, would be, well, it would take some of that pressure off completely. So thinking about that then, and sort of kind of going beyond just achieving amazing care and compliant care, of course. Someone buying into a franchise brand like Home Instead is wanting to run a successful business. So how does L&D help franchisees grow and maintain a successful business?
Mostly around the compliance, and the simplification of everything as well. So because they've got a standardized approach, a brand new care pro coming in will get the learning that they need, and then you've got your care manager who's got that experience. If a brand new owner has got no experience at all in care, the care manager does. So the care manager understands what's going on and where it's at. And then we make sure that that's absolutely the way that it is, because L&D work really well with quality as well, and clinical governance. So we've got a clinical governance lead as well. So as care needs increase, we know that that's actually that's really important, and that will happen.
And I suppose if we consider really the full scope of services, that poses an amazing kind of really commercial opportunity for a franchisee as well, because it allows you to help such a massive variety of people with a huge variety of needs. And I guess first and foremost, we want to deliver the best quality of care that we can. But what that means to a franchise owner who's invested in this kind of brand and model is that brings clients to you. And actually, if you treat just 1 hour of care with the utmost importance and put highly trained staff and kind of care professionals, with that individual, that then helps the client and kind of retains them as a client, I suppose, as well. And
so we've seen a big shift in that, Luke, recently, haven't we? So, there were times, so with live-in care particularly. So, starting a business today, you'll start with companionship. So you'll have all of the information that you need.
What is companionship then, for people who might not know?
Oh, okay, that's a great point. So companionship is literally being able to sit and talk and build a relationship with a client.
Yeah, okay.
So that they feel comfortable in their own home and can stay there for as long as possible. And very often, if you start with the companionship, it builds nicely, then it starts to get perhaps some personal care. They might need some help with washing or bathing or dressing.
Yep, okay.
They may need some help with medication. So instantly you can see you're starting to build the training needs that care pro will need in order to be able to support the client. So medication will become part of the training, and we'll have to observe competence to make sure that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing in the right way, And then perhaps the person will develop dementia, or perhaps they'll have Parkinson's, or they might be a diabetic as well, or, that whatever that journey is for that client, it's more hours of care, and at the end, it's live-in care as well. So a live-in care professional, needs to understand about their lone working. They need to understand about health and safety for them, because, they're there 24 hours a day. So they need to understand all of that. So, our learner management system enables us to be able to ensure that they've got their policies. It's on an app, so they can see what it is that they've done. So you're in a client and all of a sudden you think, oh, I'm sure I read something about. Yeah, you can go on, you can look at it, you can review the knowledge.
Right, okay.
And that's really important for anybody. You imagine you're in somewhere and you really don't know what it is that you're supposed to be doing. Perhaps the office isn't available right there and then, but it's always better to try and find your learning for yourself, and you can sort of think, well, I've got this situation. Oh, I'm sure I read something about that. I'll go back to it. So it's always there. So, that's really good as well. So it's a growth mindset, and learning and development helps with that growth mindset as well, because actually if you're sure and that your care pros are able to do what it is that you're asking of them because they've been well trained, then actually that in itself brings outstanding care to you and helps you to be compliant as well, and the stories that care professional will be able to give to, say, the regulator when they call will be amazing, and you've got all of your training matrices and everything. So it's all there, it's all recorded.
And all of that means a client receives an exceptional standard of care, which eases the client's distress and the family around them.
Yeah.
Which I suppose is exactly what we're aiming to do, to really take the pressure off the clients and their families, and hopefully deliver care for the rest of that client's life.
Yeah, and also as well, when we think about our clients' families, they need information as well. So lots of our training programs have been adapted so that our clients' families can understand the condition that they're living with as well.
Yeah.
So our dementia community shops at community workshops are always well attended, and that's something that we've developed from our program that we deliver to our care professionals. We also help the clients and their families understand what the condition is that their person is living with, so that it can help them recognise what might need to happen as well. So, they'll read something and they might say, oh, actually, I think mum could do with a little bit more care, and they work really, really well as well.
And I suppose it allows that family member or a whole family unit to be empowered, so that it's not loads of jargon and confusing care visits and you don't really know what happened, which seems stressful in its own way. You can actually kind of follow and track that process and check in with your mum or your dad and see how things went, but really understanding it, not just saying, how was today? Actually you can fully have a conversation.
Yeah.
Amazing. So how again, I think throughout all of your answers, I think in a way you've brought a lot of these things in, but for people listening, I just want to help them truly understand this. I think entering care is it must be very scary, I think, to embark on opening a care business. So we've mentioned kind of regulatory standards from all of the UK countries, and everyone kind of has slightly nuanced kind of compliance to meet. So how does it actually look then when Home Instead builds Home Instead standards to meet the regulatory standards? How does that actually play out internally?
So internally, that's a lot of reading. It's a lot of reading, it's a lot of recognition, it's understanding the acts, it's understanding the framework that is necessary for the training, and often, like the Health and Social Care Act just literally says training as required, more or less. It's a bit more complicated than that. So what does that actually mean? So it means that we have to sit down and absolutely make sure that we bring in to all of our training what is necessary.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you've got a train the trainer in moving and handling because there's equipment involved, they need to understand health and safety, management of health and safety, lifting operations, lifting equipment regulations, provision and use of work equipment. So you name it, it's all there. So, and actually, if somebody said, right, there's a piece of equipment, actually knowing what was behind that regulation and what was behind that information, it's a minefield. So by having the L&D department, it means that we can break that information down into usable chunks and make sure that it's delivered in the best way possible.
Yeah. So in theory, as a new franchisee, you're actually buying into Home Instead standards, having the confidence that they will meet the regulator standards.
Yeah, most definitely.
Which is a helpful thing, and it sounds, if you were going it alone and opening an independent care provider, it's everything you've been explaining. It sounds like a deep dark pit of like an endless pit of complexity, which can absolutely be solved and understood. But when you're alone navigating that, whilst answering the phones, whilst marketing your business and doing recruitment and thinking about training and stuff, it it sounds like a lot. It really does sound like a lot. So
it does. And as well as if you think about it, so when you first start your franchise, you know, you've kind of like, you might have 1, 2, maybe 3 clients. Yeah. So, I always remember the very first time I spoke to our first opening office, the franchisee there, he said, Trish, when I first started, I knew every single care pro and every single client inside and out. He said, I'm now so big that I can't always know that, but I trust and I know that my staff know the clients inside and out. And that's the mindset, that's the growth that we help you to achieve as well, you know.
So you can actually, as you grow to a size where as an owner you inevitably have to start stepping away from the detail of your business. Well, I suppose a few things come into that really, which is our recruitment process is very, very particular, isn't it? It's in it for the right reasons, but we aren't just looking for people who can deliver care. We're looking for people who have in their heart to deliver care and actually are driven by kind of compassion. And I suppose the mentality is we can't teach you to be compassionate, but we can teach you how to deliver amazing care. So an owner focusing on recruitment in the right way, plus you know what you guys do to kind of create this learning and development kind of system. The two things combined must lead you to amazing people who care about the clients and their colleagues and the office staff just as much as that owner originally did, I suppose.
Yeah, and you know, one of the industry what has always been bandied about, or value-based recruitment, you know, and actually I truly believe that Home Instead do that because we have such a good L&D, such good training behind it, that actually, you know, somebody who's got that compassion, they've got the heart, we can bring out what they need to do. I'm not saying that we don't have people who haven't got past experience or previous experience, you know, because we do, that it's all part and parcel of it, you know, particularly like live-in care. You would expect somebody to have had years of experience looking after somebody, you know. It's not a job that you can just sort of go to. But for right at the start, you know, you're bringing on people that absolutely want to support and want to build relationships with their clients, which is amazing.
Well, and even, you know, in kind of what I do for a job, and the franchise development team bringing on new franchisees, part of our process is to determine not only that a person has kind of the business credentials or the ambition, or beyond that, we're looking at them personally. You know, if you could run any business, why are you picking care? And if people are focused maybe solely on the financial outcome of that, or they think it's easy, or they don't really want to be that involved, they just want to invest in a new sector, that tends to be a red flag, no matter how good the kind of their credentials are, if you know what I mean. But if someone says, I just want to help people and I want to run a successful business doing it, well, that's two amazing ticks there, isn't it? Because actually you've recruited someone based on those values, and you know that now they're going to go out and they're going to find office staff in the same way, considering both, can they do this role, but also, do they care about the role? Are they gonna put their all into this? And then I suppose if you create that culture in an office, that then will happen with the care professionals too. So it's like being incredibly focused on finding people with that compassion at all levels means that Home Instead can continue building this amazing culture.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, and I think we're, you know, I just think, you know, when we start to think about the future of learning and development, you know, where does AI fit into it? Where does VR fit into it? You know, virtual reality, etc. You know, and all of these things. I think as well, probably a really point that we've perhaps not covered is that, you know, our learning and development offering is free at source.
Mm-hmm.
Our learner management system is free at source, and if you were to go out and purchase something like that separately, you're talking a lot of money. So it's part and parcel of your provision. You've got it. So you've got that standardized approach within that as well, So, and often, our courses that we run, if it's an internal course, is usually free of charge. We do charge you if you cancel, but that's a different point. That's just a different point. But anyway, as Tim promised, I promised Tim I would put that in. But no, I'm only joking.
It's an important point.
It is an important point.
If you turn up, then there's no cost.
Exactly. However, if it's a specific course like a leadership course or a management essentials course or a financials course, then there is a charge for those because they're external providers.
Yeah, okay.
Because obviously we can't be all to everybody. We've got our set of knowledge, other people have got their sets of knowledge. And actually, because we vet that training, we know it's going to meet what we actually need to do. So, we've got lots of things coming on board, in terms of more exciting qualifications. We get offers of things like boot camps. We get offers of people want to work with us, Luke. Because we've got Princess Royal training, we've got assured status with Sitting Girls. We make sure that our courses are CPD certified, etc. So all of that helps to grow the market as well, and us to become industry leaders as well.
And to stay in line with the way that the world goes, I guess, as the world changes around us, our approach to everything, including and importantly, learning and development, has to change and adapt with it, doesn't it?
It does.
I think that's a great point. So we've covered so much, and I think the last thing that I think we should potentially cover is, so someone buys then into a franchise. They build a team which has a trainer who is now training care professionals, and they hear about there's some feedback from a client or feedback from a care professional. Is there a system of feedback and communication with you guys that then kind of goes back into your knowledge as well? So you kind of have
absolutely.
You guys on a macro level overseeing everything, and those franchisees and their teams and their care professionals are on the ground, I suppose. They understand what's happening locally. So how does that communication between you work?
So basically, we have the trainers Ask Me Anything. So they tell us what's going on in their world. We help them to develop and provide them with CPD opportunities, continued professional development. And actually, we get lots of information from our offices. Tim and I are always got emails about different things like, oh, this doesn't seem quite right, and is it possible to build this?
Yeah.
Is it possible to have some training on this, or where would I get that? And we work with our learner management system as well. So we work with our provider of our learner management system and say, have you got anything in the pipeline to develop this type of learning?
Yeah.
And often, that if they're not already doing it, then we will do it ourselves as well. So we tend to write our e-learning around our processes, along with all of the industry standards that we need to do, etc. But if there's anything of a wider point, so it's like a win-win. So we'll give them ideas. They allow us to put our materials onto the LMS as well. So we learn from each other, really, and it's a real symbiotic relationship, I suppose.
Yeah, which sounds crucial in a way. And actually, if someone's buying into a brand and not just Home Instead, I think it's important to know that your voice is heard, and it's not just one-way communication. You're being told what to do. I think that's part of it, to be guided, but you're then the one who goes out and delivers that care, and so you also know things in that whole mix. So the two-way communication is crucial, and I think and it really goes for really every department at kind of national office, and it should really happen at every franchise brand. But we've covered loads there, and I think that one thing that it shows is we're there to help people navigate this this complex but important world
Mm.
of kind of compliance. So thank you for all of the insight that you've shared. Thank you for coming and joining us. I'm going to end with kind of a final quick question, which is, what would you say to people who are on the fence about buying a franchise with Home Instead? Is there any kind of any information that you would give to them?
So I would say never be worried that you're not going to be supported. It's my job in L&D to support you, to help your care professionals be the very best that they can, and our mission is to professionalise the role of care.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at. And I think I would say go for it, why wouldn't you? That's what I'd say.
Thank you. It's a great ending point. Well, thank you, Trish. I think this has been a wonderful episode that will hopefully help people who are maybe worried about this particular topic and just want to know that we are thinking about franchisee and their teams as well. So yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for coming.
No, thanks, Luke. Thank you.